All right, let's talk about my favorite free plugins right now in Pro Tools. All right, so I'm just going to kind of mention the free plugins that pop up in my head that I tend to use all the time that I know are free. So this is not going to be an extensive list. Maybe I'll make another list at some point, but these are the ones that I tend to use a lot, so they therefore pop up in my head. That's how I'm making this list. Super unofficial. So with that said, some of these plugins are plugins that come free with Pro Tools. So if you're in a different DAW, it might be possible that these plugins are not free for you to use. So just keep that in mind. I might be mentioning some plugins that are otherwise paid, but they do come for free with a Pro Tools subscription. All right, so the first plugin on my list I've mentioned before. I know I've mentioned this a bunch. It's on pretty much every project that I work on. I think it might literally be on every project that I work on. And I started using this one. It's the HOFA 4U meter fader and MS pan because it has this LUFS metering. So that's really why I started using it. That's the extent of how I tend to use it, is just for simple metering. But it does have other features that you can dig into as well. And I would recommend just downloading the whole HOFA, I believe is the company name. They have a whole bunch of different free plugins, so you can download their whole freeware suite. It's pretty easy to do. They have like a install manager. You download that, and then you basically uncheck everything and just check off the free. They have a category for freeware, and you can download and install and use those, and they're really good. And it's a pretty good freeware suite. I use the meter the most though, so that's the one that I'm listing here. So the next group of plugins that I want to mention are the Kilohearts free plugins. So if you go, let's see, where's Kilohearts? There we are. I'm blind. So Kilohearts, that's how it's spelled. They have a really nice suite of free plugins. I think it's like 30 plugins or something, and they're really good plugins. The ones that I tend to use the most are the HOS plugins. I'm sorry, that's a singular plugin. The HOS plugin, the Transient Shaper, and the Tape Stop. The tape stop's kind of gimmicky, but I love it. It's just mimicking a tape stop. And you can do a starting effect as well. I like to automate the stop in like at the end of something, or to cause like some negative space really quickly and then return it to normal, stuff like that. The Transient Shaper is really good. It's just another transient shaper. I use it on things like bass sometimes. You can use it on a range of different instruments. I've been tending to use it on bass. And then the HOS plugin is just mimicking the HOS effect. It's actually doing the HOS effect, to my understanding, right? So here's the tape stop plugin. And I'll just usually set the stop and start time and then automate the play button so that it pauses and does the, that kind of effect, and then the startup. And then this is the Transient Shaper. It's kind of just a standard basic transient shaper. You can see I have it here on the bass. And then I actually do have the HOS effect one here. So here I'm kind of breaking the rules, right? Because I'm using it on like a parallel version of the bass to add more of an effect, kind of breaking the rules away from, bass right down the middle type of thing. So I'm kind of experimenting with breaking rules here, just so you know, just keep that in mind. But if you're not familiar with the HOS effect, it's basically when you're changing the left and right speaker. So they have slightly different delay values. And what it does is if you set it within a certain range of difference, so it's like, left and right are apart by like 20 milliseconds to 50 or something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but usually I do like a little over 20, somewhere within the 20 to 30 range, but just move it around and feel where it sounds right to you. But the whole point of the HOS effect is when it's that far apart between the left and the right, your brain psychologically doesn't hear it as delay. It hears it as a widening effect. So that's all it does, is it widens things, makes them sound fuller and wider. And so I'll use this a lot on guitars, sometimes backing vocals, things like that. This is kind of an unusual case for me to use it on the bass. I think this might be one of the first times that I've really tried it a ton with the bass. So I really like the Kilohearts plugins. Again, it's a great free suite. I would probably just get all the free ones that they have. I believe that's what I did, right? But these three are the ones that I tend to use the most. Now, I also wanted to mention the Klanghelm plugins. I really like their free plugins. There are 3 of them, as far as I know. There might be more, actually, now. But anyway, point is, I have these 3. I believe they're all free, and I really like them. So this one is a really good compressor. This is probably the one that I use the most, so this is probably the one that should be on my list the most, right? The time constants, it does more than just attack and release. It does, a few other things, but other than that, it's a pretty simple, basic compressor. It's really good on vocals. I like it on vocals a lot. I like it on a few other things, guitars, stuff like that. But it adds some nice harmonics to it. So it adds some coloring to it that's really nice, but it's also like crisp and clean and beautiful sounding. So it has a fun effect to it. So I really like this one a lot. Let's see, the Avid GI2. So this one is a saturation and distortion unit. It's a lot of fun to mess around with. And then the other one, let's see, the DC1A3. This one's another compressor. So it's pretty simple on the top part, right? It's just your standard compressor input output knobs. And it has some fun extra options, I guess you could call them. They're buttons. You turn them on or off down here at the bottom. And this one has a nice range, right? It can go from, if you're gentle with it, it can be, fairly transparent, quote unquote transparent. But you can also really push it and really mess with the harmonics. So it can be a lot of fun. These effects down here, I guess buttons, they're not really effects, right? But negative is basically you're over compressing. You can have it separately compress the left and right channels if you activate the dual mono mode. You can do peak and RMS compression if you have relaxed on. All right, so editing Cato here. I just wanted to pop in because on the website, they say peak and RMS compression. And then in parentheses, it says relaxed switch on. But it sounds to me like it's toggling between peak and RMS compression. If you go to the manual, what it says is that when the relaxed switch is on, when it's lit, then it offers gentler, less aggressive compression characteristics with longer time constants and less saturation. So I believe it's actually toggling back and forth between peak and RMS, I think. But maybe someone knows better and can say in the comments below for us. And then deep is kind of it's not the word I would have used for what it does, but it's basically just a high pass filter. So if you're using something or if you're working on something that has a lot of low end in it, you might want to activate this. It'll become a high pass filter and then you could separately control the low end. So that's an option. It can just help you avoid like that pumping in the low end effect and just allow you to have a little more control over, different areas of the frequency range, right? So low versus high. All right. So what's next? I think I wanted to show you the Tokyo Dawn Labs plugins. So these are really good. I believe all 4 of these are free. I think I just have their free pack. But the ones that I tend to use the most are the Kotelnikov. This is probably the one that I use the most. So this is a mastering compressor. So it is very transparent. It's very nice. I like to use it for if I just want to do some subtle dynamic control. You can also, it's a mastering compressor. You can put it on your master fader. It can be really good for mastering. I have done that before, but a lot of the time I am using this on individual instruments and I really like it. It's really good if you want like a more transparent compression. And then the other one that I used to use this a lot more, but I wanted to put it on this list because it can be kind of hard sometimes to find. Last time I checked, at least, it's been a little while, but it can be kind of hard to find a really good dynamic EQ that's free. And this one is a free dynamic EQ, and I like it. I use it a lot on vocals. So if there's like some harshness in the vocals, you can use it to kind of tame those harsh frequencies when they get to be a bit too much. You can use it to control bass, for example. It can be good for a variety of purposes, but I really like it. Okay. Now, I was debating whether to mention this, but it is included with the Pro Tools subscription. So right now, what you can do, let me open up the tab here. With the Pro Tools subscription, if you have this, you can pick your favorite Plugin Alliance plugin, and they have a list of a whole bunch of plugins, so over 130 plugins that you can choose from. And a lot of these plugins are really, really good, and they're normally otherwise paid. So if you have a Pro Tools subscription, do not sleep on this. You got to check it out, pick your plugin, and go for it. So I was actually looking through this list earlier. These are the instructions here. But the list is pretty good. A lot of these plugins I have heard about and seen at the very least, if not actually used them and really like them. So I'm just going to kind of show you some of the ones that pop out to me as I scan this list. The SSL console ones are very good, very popular. I would probably recommend those. Oh, people really like the Alicia ones. I haven't used those as much. These as well, the Angle ones. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but I've seen people use those and I like how they sound too. These are really good. People like these. Let's see what else. A lot of people really love the Shadow Hills mastering compressor. Check that out if you don't know about it. And this one, I don't think I would actually get this one with the Plugin Alliance thing, because unless they changed it, it's totally possible they changed it. But I think I got this for free with Pro Tools already. So I didn't get it through this offering. So it might already come with Pro Tools, or if not, it looks identical. It says Brainworks here. I'm not sure if mine says Brainworks there. But I'm going to mention this later on this list, so we'll take a look at it. Just keep that in mind if you're thinking about getting that one. The SPL stuff's good. Oh, indent. I love indent. I use this all the time. Almost every session I use this for distortion. I really like it. I like the type of distortion you can get with it, and you can do a lot with it. Sandman's also really good. I've messed with this one a bunch. I like this one a lot. It's a really fun delay. It's good. Let's see. What else? Yeah, maybe those are the big ones I would recommend. I think BX Refinement should be in here too. I didn't see it just now, but BX Refinement is really good. I use that a lot too. It's great for cutting harshness. It's probably up here at the top. This is probably alphabetical, isn't it? Let's see. There it is. BX Refinement. That's a really good one. I really like that one. So yeah, those are kind of the ones that pop out to me scrolling this list. I'm sure there are a bunch more on this list that are really good, and I may or may not have used them. I don't know. So don't come at me if your favorite one on this list wasn't mentioned here by me. I'm sorry. We all have different experience with different plugins. Oh, and I can't make a list of free plugins if I don't mention Valhalla Supermassive. So Valhalla, I love all of their plugins. Everyone loves their plugins, I think. So Supermassive is free. I believe Space Modulator and Frequency Echo are free as well. Supermassive is my favorite one that's free. I use Supermassive and Vintage Verb the most. Those are my two favorites by Valhalla. But Supermassive is great. It's just some really nice, lush, beautiful reverbs. It's like reverb delay, I believe, technically, because you do have delays factored in. It's just so much fun, the type of sounds you can make. And I think this plugin's kind of responsible for me branching out and changing the way that I use reverb recently. I've gotten into using it in a more obvious way, and really trying to like sculpt the reverb and cater it to how I like it. Because for a long time, I used very minimal reverb because I think part of it was because I wasn't getting it where I wanted it to be. And now I'm getting it better at getting it where I want it to be. I've been exploring it more. So I would definitely recommend this one if you have not checked this one out. I know a lot of people already are super into this one, so I'm not really adding a ton here to the conversation, but I can't make this list without including this one. And I guess while we're recently looking at it, let's look at the Avid stuff and look at that Purple Audio. So Purple Audio MC77. Yeah, so this one doesn't say Brainworks, so I guess it's probably technically different. But I really like this one. It's just mimicking the 1176. It's a great plugin. If you want that 1176 sound, you can throw this on there and mess with it, and it's pretty good. It sounds good. I don't know what the difference is between this one and the Brainworks one. I vaguely remember maybe there was something about them selling something to somebody. So maybe it's just a transfer of ownership that's the difference. But I did get this for free with Pro Tools, so you might not want to get that other one with the Plugin Alliance deal if you're looking at it. Go see if you can find this in the regular Pro Tools stock plugins. But I use this one a lot. The other stuff that Avid has, I would definitely try, if you haven't yet, try doing a mix with all stock plugins as an exercise. It's really fun, and it kind of forces you to dig into these free plugins that are actually really good. So, I don't know what some of the ones that I really like are. Let's see. I would definitely recommend, especially if you're new, checking out like the 7-band EQ and the Dyne 3 compressor limiter, which is right here. These are really good if you're learning what an EQ does, what a compressor does, because they have these graphs so you can really easily conceptualize what they're doing and hopefully grasp the concepts a little faster. I'll show you the compressor one because it's actually... It helps. I show these to my students, partially because they're stock plugins, but also because they have these graphs. So you can really easily see, for example, with the compressor, when you have input level in decibels, you can really easily see kind of where-ish that output level is going to hit in decibels. So like as you crank up the ratio, you can see that even if I'm up here near 0, it's still going to come out around the same place as like if it's coming in at negative 20 decibels. So that's kind of, there's some variation depending on attack and release and other things, but it really helps you visualize what it's doing. And then when you play audio here, you can also see the little dot moving. So you can see what's happening, how it's affecting it as you change these parameters. You can see what the knee does. You can see what the threshold does. It's really great if you're learning, right? Let's see. I also like the Sans amp is a really good one. This one's been around forever and it's great. It's just an amp sim plugin. I believe it's actually emulating an old piece of hardware that was called a Sans amp, I believe. I think I read about it recently. I also love the Tape Echo plugin. This one can make some really, really fun effects. So I would recommend checking this one out if you haven't already. I need to dig into these more, to be honest. Lo-fi can be a lot of fun. I don't use that a ton. I've used Pitch 2 a whole bunch. So you can really easily pitch shift stuff. You can unlink the left and right if you want to like make a monstery effect or something like that. You have these coarse values you can mess with really easily, or you can just click around. There's also the fine tuning, which is in sense. So that's like kind of like throwing stuff out of tune, right? It's a finer unit of measurement that's used to denote how far things are between a semitone. And a semitone is just the distance between one note and another on a piano. It's the distance between like a B and a B flat, for example, if you're not familiar. But yeah, pitch 2 is really good. I reach for this a good amount if I want just like a certain type of pitch shifting. Yeah, and I would just kind of check out these Avid stock plugins. They're really good. You can make a really good mix using just stock plugins. You know, so don't ignore them just because they're free and they come with Pro Tools. They're like, you know, the base ones that you get. They're stock plugins. That doesn't mean that they're worse. Oh, and then I forget if I mentioned this one already here, but Mod Delay 3 is also pretty good if you want just like a simple delay, if you want control over your delay. It can be good also for learning delay because it has these parameters clearly laid out, you know, low pass filter, feedback, the amount, link left and right. If you're doing like the Haas effect, we mentioned that with this Kilohearts Haas, right? You just kind of decide which one you want to be delayed more, left or right, and then, you know, put in your value. What did I have on the other one? 21. And then there you go. You made the Haas effect, and you can swap it if you want, you know, whatever you want. It's fun. So that's another good one. All right. And that's my list. So I hope you all liked the list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And let me know what plugins you would add to your list, right? This was kind of just the top of my head, the stuff that pops into my mind because I've been using it a lot recently, or I've used it a lot in the recent past. So it's by no means a thorough list, right? There are a lot of free plugins that I love that I would have loved to put on this list. If I was only more organized, maybe I would have. I know there's one instrument plugin that I wanted to put on this list and I decided not to because of recent news with the owner, one of the founders of that company. So I'm going to avoid that one. But let me know what ones you like. I want to know because I'm always looking for new free plugins, new plugins that are fun to use and helpful for changing texture and tone and, you know, whatever else that you're messing with the plugin. I'm rambling a bit. I'm not going to ramble, but I think my point is that I feel like I've gotten pretty good at not buying plugins impulsively. So usually if I see a plugin that sounds like fun, I'll wait to buy it. And if it keeps coming up in my mind as something that would add a lot of utility, have a lot of usefulness for me, you know, considering the cost and everything, then I'll sometimes end up buying it. Sometimes I'll do a little splurge if something's a lot of fun. Lately I've been, you know, if I do buy a plugin, it's been more prone to be like an instrument pack or something where I want a specific sound. But there's a lot you can do with free plugins. So I know I don't really need any of it. So don't feel like you have to buy plugins to have fun and make good music or, you know, sound design or whatever it is that you're doing. But yeah, that's it. Other than that, I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/CatoNoise. And my patrons get access to some additional content. The big thing I've been focusing on lately are early release videos and then the Discord server that we've been hanging out on, just nerding out. We've been really lucky. Everyone's been very nice and very cool on there. It's a good community. We've been really lucky. So check that out if you feel so inclined. We do have the book club. I actually have my book here. We just started a new book. So it's called Inspire the Music, 50 Years of Roland History. Maybe I'll put a link to this in the description. I don't think I can make it an affiliate link, but not that I can do that with any of these other things that I just mentioned in this video. But I just started this last night. I just did the reading for this week last night. So it was like page 1 through 45 that we did. And I've been really liking the book more than I thought I would. There's a lot of really good information in here. There are really interesting interviews, stuff like that. Lots of fun photos so you can look at the different products and learn about the history of it. And I've been really liking the book so far. So we've been picking some good ones. This one's kind of expensive as far as the books that we've been choosing have been. And usually we do choose more affordable books for book club, but we kind of all decided that we were down to go for this one, and I've been happy with it. I've been really happy with all of our book club choices so far. So it's been good. It's been kind of forcing me to learn and read in a different way than I probably would if I didn't have some friends to hold me accountable. So that's been a lot of fun. And I think that's all I had to say. So I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thanks so much for hanging out. Okay. I may or may not have put in a clip where I mentioned that I recorded this like 3 times already. And what happened is this computer here is my secondary computer. It's my old laptop, and I run audio to it so I can get a cleaner audio signal to then put in the video, because screen capture stuff kind of messes with the audio a little. So I do that to record my audio, and it has frozen like 3 times now. So I'm kind of nervous about doing recordings in the future. We'll see what happens. Right now I'm recording with the Tascam soundboard. We'll see what happens. I might have to like record my audio with my Zoom recorder or something. Oh, I can show you this guy. I like to take notes on paper. He's got a little Google eye. I think he's either an alpaca or a llama. Depends from Machu Picchu. So that's Peru, right? I don't know if that makes him an alpaca or a llama. Anyway, I kind of like how cute he is. Keeps me company while I'm taking notes on like where the different analog gear is set. Like I'll draw the little knobs and I'm left-handed. I'll draw the little knobs and draw where everything is and write it down. Preamp settings, sometimes mix notes. Sometimes I'll handwrite my mix notes. But yeah, this is just a cute little fixture in my studio. I don't know if I'm going to include this in the final. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm tired. I can't believe I had to record this 3 times. And now I'm stressed about that computer working. Okay, bye.